Welcome to Navigating Immigration Today. I'm Iris Christensen, one of the co-hosts of this podcast.
Hi, I'm Najib Azad, the other co-host of this podcast.
And we are welcoming today our guest, Walter Baires. He's going to be talking some about immigration, but before we start, I just wanted to say that during our first episode, my co-host Najib and I shared our vision and the mission of this podcast. Navigating Immigration Today aims to shed a light on the realities faced by immigrants, their contributions to society, and the challenges that they face. This is especially important now under this current administration's efforts to arrest, detain, and deport immigrants, even those who have no criminal histories. And in fact, many of them have legal status to live in the United States with visas and even green cards. Other countries are now advising their citizens to postpone or cancel travel plans to the United States because of these concerns. And I imagine that most of our listeners have heard about the Venezuelan immigrants who have been deported to the Sicat prison in El Salvador. That approximately 238 people were deported on March 15th, and even more have been deported since then to this prison. And this prison is notorious for human rights violations. It's actually called a hellhole in many reports. And then I think that some people have probably seen a recent 60 Minutes episode that reported that 75% perhaps of the people who were deported have no criminal histories. I've seen even further reports saying up to 90% have no criminal histories. So this is shocking, given the administration's comments that only these people who are deported have criminal histories, which obviously isn't true. The government is currently defying multiple court orders to return these people to the United States, and then now they're not even revealing their names. They're refusing to reveal their names. So our guest today, Reverend Walter Baires, is very familiar with ICE actions to detain and deport immigrants with no criminal histories. And he's worked with immigrants, and he's very, very aware of the fact that many immigrants are hardworking and they live among us in our communities. So I wanted to say, before I turn this to Walter, I met Walter at church. He's a member of the church that we both attend in Madison. I actually approached him the first time I approached him was in the fall before the election, and I asked him what he thought about the anti-immigrant talk that was so prevalent. I mentioned that even some of our church members were hesitant to speak up or oppose Trump's campaign promises to deport immigrants. I won't forget what Walter said. He said we should all be able to identify with immigrants since we are all immigrants, unless, of course, our ancestors were Native Americans. I learned since then that Reverend Walter is a fierce defender of immigrant rights, and he has a very keen understanding of the importance of listening to everyone to find ways that we can share our concerns and values. So let me turn this to Walter. Tell us a bit about yourself.
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this program today. About myself, I was born and raised in El Salvador. I also came here as a student with my family. My wife also was studying. We were sent to Walter Seminary. And so after some time, we were getting ready to go home. But in 2001, there were two major earthquakes in El Salvador. And so because of that, our church, home church, suggested us to remain here for 4 more time. And because our church is part of the program that we call Companion Synods. The Great Milwaukee Synod is one of the companions of the Lutheran Church in El Salvador. And so during that time, they were looking for a pastor. And they called me to serve in their congregation in Milwaukee. Okay, so we moved to Milwaukee in 2001, and we have been served. I was serving there for 18 years. So after that time in there, I was called to come to Madison. This is a different synod in our church, and it is divided in synod. So Wisconsin have 5 synods. So I am now serving in one of them, which is called South Central Synod of Wisconsin.
Okay. So that's where when I first met you, I believe you're the associate to or assistant to the bishop in that synod. Is that correct?
That's correct. The title is a director for evangelical mission and assistant to the bishop.
Okay. So how long exactly have you worked for the synod? About how long?
I've been serving now for 6 years.
Oh, okay. With that work with the synod, I imagine you work with lots of different pastors and family, congregants. So can you tell us about perhaps one of the families that you or maybe even another colleague worked with that that had issues dealing with immigration issues? Maybe they had problems fearing deportation or other issues as immigrants. Can you tell us about one situation in particular?
Yes. There was one case a few months ago. A pastor from Plato called me, and so she shared, this story of a single mother who lost her job and who was afraid of being detained, but at the same time she heard the news, this propaganda that the administration was putting out, asking people to deport themselves or to turn in themselves. And so she, out of desperation, decided to turn in herself with her kids. Her kids were born here. So she lost the place where she was living, and she ended up in a motel I would say it was the providence. It was, I would say, God stepping in, because the manager of the hotel was a member of one of our congregations, and he called the pastor, and so the pastor connected with this single mother, and she wanted to turn in herself with the kids. She wanted money, to have transportation and turn in herself in Chicago. So the pastor was able to talk to her and to find another solution, provisional solution probably, and that was, to place them in a women's shelters that is established in their area. And since then, this shelter has been supporting her. But this is one of many cases that are happening everywhere. Is the fear factor that people is dealing with, and also the intent of the administration to mislead the people during this time.
And I would like to ask Walter some more questions, and then of course,
Okay.
what we are hearing, we will share that either in this episode or in next episodes. Walter, what are you most concerned about now? Of course, after the new administration took over a little over 100 days.
My main concern right now is that there is not due process, and so seems like the government is doing everything they can to mislead and to deport people no matter what. They are still saying that they are going after criminals, but that's not true. Hardworking people have been detained with no reason. Even people with documents, even with green cards, are being detained and deported. So I think the major concern is the lack of due process. Even we notice that the administration is not following the judge orders, and that is really, really concerning.
So you mean the 14th and the 5th Amendments, sir, of the U.S. constitutions are kind of violated, like due process for every citizen, even like the term they use for non-citizen aliens, they have the right to the right of due process, equal rights, and then a right to trial. So I mean those amendments are kind of violated by what we see now, right?
That's correct. There is also the fear of, losing the freedom of speech. Uh, Immigrants, and both documented or undocumented, they still have the freedom of speech, and that is not being respected anymore.
Yeah, what you mean is the Sixth Amendment, that you have a right to have a counsel. I mean, a lawyer or an attorney. So they are just arrested and then detained and deported because they don't have the right to all those amendments, including the First Amendment, freedom of speech, and then the even like the Fourth Amendment, a warrant search or arrest warrants, and then of course the Fifth Amendment, the Miranda right, and then the Sixth Amendment to have a counsel. So you mean those all amendments are violated?
That's correct.
Mhm. So, Walter, have you, in addition to that story you told us a minute ago about a single mother, have you heard of any other situations where people actually were deported, or either that or had to fear deportation? Maybe something closer to home, maybe something more personal to your family or to people that you know very well.
Um, Regarding my family, even though we are USA citizens, they are still fearful that this administration can still also deport US USA citizens, and
Hmm.
that is really concerning right now. Um, One of my bishops, or one of our bishops in Wisconsin, he is keeping his passport every time he goes out. He's from Puerto Rico, and he always keeps his passport at hand just in case. Something that, I mean, he shouldn't have the uh, the need, to hold the passport everywhere he goes, because we use our passport only when we travel outside of the country.
Hmm.
So, but also I met some families in one of our congregations, the Latino congregation,
Hmm.
who are first generation, who are grandmas and great grandmas, and they are fearful that if they are deported, their family is going to be separated, and the main uh, fear that they are dealing with is the fact that they don't know anybody anymore in Mexico, and and if the younger kids also decide to go along with them, still they lost that connection already in Mexico. And so these families are still living with that fear.
Do you hear comments from this administration that you believe is misleading or false?
Well, yes. The first one is that they are going after criminals. That's a big lie. Uh, the second one is about asking people to turn in themselves or to deport, to self-deport. That's a big lie too, because uh, they are even offering some money for people who wants to do it. So far, the only thing we know is that they are detaining people, separating people, and people ended up in places that they even don't know. There are hundreds of families who ended up in Panama, families who are from different parts of the world, and they ended up in Panama not knowing where to go or what to do, and not knowing even the language of the people. So yes, they are misleading, and they are doing it on purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we both agree with you on that. One thing I'd like to do is just change the direction of this just slightly and ask you what you think about immigrants living in our communities. Do you think that they have a positive influence on our communities and positive contributions? What do you think about that, Walter?
The reality is that they are doing jobs that most of the people don't want to do anymore, and they are filling in those gaps. Uh, they are working uh, in anything that they can, because
Mm-hmm.
the main purpose is to uh, to improve the life of their families, and the life of the families, not just those living here, but also even supporting their families back there in their home countries. So another contribution that they are doing is that they are bringing new life in churches. They are bringing a new spirituality. They are bringing traditions that somehow are now becoming part of our communities.
Mm-hmm.
So the contribution is in many ways like the dreamers. The dreamers are now, I mean, professionals who are serving in different capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and they are uh, same thing. They are afraid that they also can be deported. So I I would say also that the immigrant community is bringing this spirit of the spirit of being entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Small business pop up in different places, and most of the time they do it with their own resources, or people who is around them who want to support them, and they manage to establish small businesses in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and that is improving, I mean, people's life too.
They hire other people. They start
They do.
restaurants, they start other businesses, and they hire other people. So yeah, it does improve any community that they are in. You're right.
They are filling the gap in our farming. I mean, in the dairy business, they are filling those gaps because there are no workers who wants to do that kind of jobs.
I don't know how much you're involved in this immigration law, or is is it an area where you see things need to be changed? I mean, are there any specific uh, uh, laws that need to be changed in immigration law, or it is okay, but it needs to be respected and needs to be enforced the way it should be, or you see any changes in the immigration laws?
I think the dream for many years has been to have a comprehensive immigration reform. Um, I don't think there have been any serious effort, I mean, to work on that direction. Um, and at this point, the only solution that is doable is to work on a comprehensive immigration reform. Um, that I think is what I can see. Otherwise, the influx of immigrants is gonna number. It is a fact that people are looking for a better place where to live for many reasons. Uh, People because are affected by the violence, because of natural disasters, um, lack of opportunities, and persecution in so many cases. Uh, when people are looking for safety, uh, I think all countries around the world have the mandate to respond to those needs. Um, but in terms of what is happening right now, uh, most of those treaties are not being followed. And so what I would say is to go back, I mean, to uphold those treaties, but at the same time to keep working in putting together a comprehensive immigration reform. I think that is uh, the only way forward.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, there are many following questions, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time. So I will jump into the next question. Are there any actions that you believe the allies can do now to support the immigrants in this country?
But right now, because of the emergency that this administration is creating, I think one way in which our allies can help is by being advocates for the immigrant community. Um, if they witness immigration raids, well, get closer and document what is happening. And I would also suggest to connect with the Voces de la Frontera network in our area, that they can report those situations, so that people can be warned about what is going on in our neighborhood. Another way is to uphold or promote the Know Your Right workshops. Is another way the ally can help, creating a space for the community to come and meet and have that very basic and important information that is needed.
And you mean those know your rights are based on the U.S. Constitution, the rights that the U.S. Constitution
That's correct. That's correct.
living in this
Mhm.
country.
Yes, and getting in touch with the representatives in Congress and the Senate.
Mm, good. So is there anything, Walter, that you think that faith-based communities specifically can do to support immigrants, in addition to doing the Know Your Rights workshops, but anything else that you can think of that those communities could do?
I think there is a real need for pastoral accompaniment. Um, some families can no longer come to church because they are afraid, and so I know that some congregations across different denominations are now reaching out and to those families and coming to their homes and pray with them and letting them know that they are not alone, that that is a larger community that is also concerned and who wants to work with them through this difficult situation. Uh, and I would say to keep promoting or helping families to put family plans in case of potential deportations. Uh, you're doing the power of attorney as part of those family plans. In some cases, I think there are congregations that might be able to put together a what you call it, a bail. How do you call that? Bailing
The,
fund,
po- the power of attorney workshops, you mean? Are you
uh,
talking about that or something else?
to have funds to help families when they are fighting their cases.
Oh,
Baila, I forgot the name of that
oh,
of that.
some programs have bail funds. Maybe
That would be
gather
bail.
bail funds
Yes,
together
bail
if the
funds.
person is actually in detention and needs money for bail. They maybe can put together that. Well,
That
Walter,
is one way
yeah,
of yes.
yeah, those are all really good ideas. Thank you so much. And I think we're at the end of our time for today, but I do want to thank you again, Walter, and for joining us and helping us have a much better understanding of this current situation and how we can help immigrants in our communities. So thank you also to our listeners today. Thank you, Najib, for your comments and help with this and work with this podcast. Until next time, let's just ask everyone to take care and remember to navigate with compassion.